Kasi kanita siwan na lusne. Anisi tahu sa travel so ya sa travel so beres yung bekeni dresa saban eater gayo rosto sa kalalacho Chinga analize bekeni dresa Hingo de storytale isturanoni yaro sanglale istusne au Dene Yati and Layet Ado Oregon na pas is intereses ni Oregon asi sa dunecho Nechala ni almost kids
Nechala ni ahung stel sana. Good evening, selot ina edladot hey. Ba ku doing zinek election day how balai the child tax zinont so then I'm babaluki let's see get out and vote and make sure then at line let's see beat the rush hour doing zinek must cho na ho si salot in da doing so rest see the no by sai guest is it's you hell sa bahalyas theater FSIN third vice chief run-on nasi and a healthy Sezi Bedeno Nila de si Willis Janvier Hushin Telas Tuazi Clearwater River Dene Nation band member at the Esclio and I join you they see Treaty 4 territory it's RC home of the Cree Métis Sioux Assiniboine Dakotas, Lakotas, all beautiful indigenous people. Yes, must see cho hello to ni. Ja, so no halja today. Oh, it's in green screen. Tay not sir. Oh man. So dude, I no halja tiasi. Dakota Nation as the Aly Bear hulyet. Kudi betade Darcy Bear la the Dakota White Cap Chief Leon. Kudi belient I third vice chief run on nesi do FSIN and you know, there at FSIN bas hunt other CD, you know, did barit adilu and classy sonort are they and then they kind of step in. A bas yes cute and is seeing and not daisy because they represent you know all 74 nations Saskatchewan AI. So question, you know, it's the don't be shy, throw it out, you know. And then ja, said I that u voted you I voted in easy you know I think all days the I you a hell doing zineke yes September 20 yeah voting day federal election make sure you go out you know exercise your right to vote day you know Nuni First Nations indigenous people then 1960s at the voted as a you know on the so doing zinige we're able to do that so make sure I'm about to get go out beat maybe fail to ballant halosa but anyways it bonus theo Aly Bear na yas no halya tiaza I'm gonna bring her in and questions you know it's in it don't be shy. Good evening, Aly. How are you doing?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good. Nezu. Thank you for joining us here this evening and sharing with us about the FSIN and what you're doing, and you know maybe introduce yourself to the audience here, why you're running or who you are, and all that good stuff.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me this evening. It's nice to be able to, speak and hear you speak your language and your introduction. That's awesome. That's a big part of who we are is our language. So I'm going to introduce myself in my language, as a Dakota Winyan. So, ha apeti washte tuwe iohana achiapi tatankaskawi imakia peye wapahaska oyate tahawahi. So, good day. My name is Tatankaskawi. That's my spirit name. My English name is Aly Bear, and I'm from Wapahaska Oyate, which is Whitecap Dakota First Nation. I'm not able to speak my language fluently. That's just something that we're reclaiming and learning, because of a lot of the effects of colonialism in residential schools. A lot of us, weren't able to learn our language. And so that's a big part of our identity and something I'm really trying to get back so that I can pass it on to my children.
Mm-hmm.
So you asked about the FSIN and why I'm running, but so
Yeah. Why, just walk us through why, why are you running for third vice chief? And what is FSIN? What does it look after and all that good stuff?
So the FSIN is the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations, and it represents and advocates for the 74 nations across Saskatchewan. And I feel like I've always been extremely passionate about Indigenous rights. I've always been extremely proud of who I am as an Indigenous woman. And, I'm from different nations from my parents. My dad's from Whitecap, my mother's from Cody First Nation, my grandmother's from Cowsis, and my late Mushrooms from Beardy's Okamesis. So, I'm really from, the people of the plains, and, I have a lot of friends from up north. And, I'm just, one of my friends here just messaged. She's one of my really good friends from up north. We went to law school together. So the reason why I went to law school was so that I could do what I can to understand how to navigate colonial systems, so that I could help our people navigate colonial systems. And the thing is that once I became a lawyer, I found that we were really governed by the Law Society. The Law Society governs the legal profession, and so do a lot of the law firms that we work at. So I was finding myself hitting, a lot of more barriers, even once I became a lawyer. So I feel that I can advocate for our people and our nations as a leader. And I can use the skills that I've learned in law school and in university and as a mother. I can use those skills and apply them to leadership. And I've seen, leadership my whole life. My dad was the chief since I was 5 years old of Whitecap, and I've always been around, Indigenous politics. Last FSIN elections, I was acting chief. The last Assembly of First Nations, I was acting chief. So I was always like, taking on these roles and responsibilities, even from a young age, just as as an older sister and a big cousin. You know, we know we have really big families. We're really rich with family, and so being a good role model has always been really important to me.
Mm-hmm. Cool, Nazun, good stuff. I like how what is it like for you growing up, around politics your whole life, and now you feel you gain the voice, I guess, and to take that step forward to take it on your own. You're not really, like you said yourself, you were put in that position. Now you've made the decision to go. What is that like for you? And and what we'll get into a platform a bit here after, but walk us through finally saying, okay, this is what I'm meant to do.
So, it's hard. I guess a lot of people don't really understand sometimes, as my dad being chief, that he is really dedicated and devoted to the community. So we had to sacrifice a lot of our time with our dad. He wasn't around a lot because of meetings. He wasn't around a lot because he was building our nation. But at the same time, that nation building was building strength and pride within me, work ethic. There's a lot of good things that can be taken away from that. But so I understand the sacrifice that a lot of leaders take, and they're really, it's not easy to be under the microscope all the time. It's not easy to be on all the time. It's not easy to be always, have a lot of people come to you with their personal issues all the time, and you can't help everybody. And you're trying to help your own family, which is really hard in itself. Like, I know sometimes we've had our issues. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. I've been a single mother. I just recently, found my partner 10 months ago, who's been helping me and my daughters now. But like just trying to navigate those issues that a lot of our people are faced with. And it's not easy having to people look at you and trying to say that you're perfect, trying
Hmm.
to say that you need to be doing this when yet at the same time we have a hard time just taking care of ourselves and our families. So I think something that's important to understand as well is that we really have to be taking care of ourselves if we want to be helping other people.
Hmm.
And there is a lot of lateral violence in our communities, and that's one reason why I really want to run, because I feel like I'm good at kind of breaking those walls down. I feel like I'm good at, you know, bringing people together. One of the
Hmm.
positions that I held in law school was I was the vice president of Indigenous relations. So I sat on the Law Students Association and the Indigenous Law Students Association. I made new events because I was bridging the Indigenous and non-Indigenous students. And I've been, been well received. A lot of people said I did a really good job, and they've learned a lot from me along the way when it comes to bridging people who don't understand one another. So when we are so diverse as Indigenous nations, and so we all have things that we're good at and things that we can learn and share from each other rather than competing. And
Hmm.
I feel that in leadership. So I kind of found my way when I was in post secondary, and I had my moment of when I knew I was going to wanted to be a lawyer, when my first book that I opened up was called Visions of the Heart, and I just opened it to a random page, chapter 10. It was Patricia Montour, and she was a Mohawk lawyer. And I was friends with her daughter. We grew up playing soccer together, and her daughter passed away when we were young. She took her own life, and that's another thing. I just want to make sure to try to like keep pushing forward, because a lot of us, don't have hope sometimes these days. And if one of us succeeds, I think we all succeed. So as a the reason why I find leadership appealing, even though it could be a lot to take on.
Yeah, that is a lot to take on, and thank you for sharing all that stuff with us. A lot of times, you know, I can hear the lateral violence in you sharing your journey, because you're right. We do face that, and then you ended with, when one of us makes it, we all make it. That's why we step behind Ethan Bear and all those, pro hockey players, because we feel we make it, and we should be encouraging people that on our nations everywhere, across this province. And I want to get into a bit about your platform, and how you plan on making it work going forward if elected as the third vice chief. How are you going to represent, like my audience here is in the far north, pretty much everywhere, but mainly the Dene people are in the northern region of Saskatchewan. So how do you plan on working with these nations to get your platform and represent them?
Yeah, no, it's quite a ways up north and quite a ways down south, and Whitecap's pretty much in the middle.
In
But
between.
I think a lot of us too, we have a lot of similar issues.
Mhm.
So what some of the skills that I want to bring to the table are, I want to start creating our own justice and legal department, because the provincial government has their own justice and legal department. The federal government has their own justice and legal department. We do not have our own justice and legal department. A lot of our people are dealing with land claims or settlements, residential schools, 60 Scoop, Indian Day School. We don't know how to navigate this system.
Yep.
And so I think that if we had our own legal, that would be something where we can help each other with access to justice. Like these are issues where a lot of our claims are being, exploited by not everybody, but there are certain firms out there that are doing that. That's been in the news, and it's an issue, and it's an issue that can we trust this system? Can we
Mhm.
trust this system because of what it's already done to our people? So I think and we have the injustices that we continue to see, like when it comes to Colton Boucher and the Stanley trial, things like that. Like I was in law school when that happened, and so many of my friends that were Indigenous wanted to quit law school at that point because they were like, "What is the point?"
Yep.
But honestly, the point is just to keep moving forward, because that's what they want. They want us to quit and
Mm-hmm.
we're not gonna quit, right? So that's why we got to keep going. But I think like in the north, when it comes to the north, like I have really good friends that live up north. So Jocelyn Campbell, we went to law school together, and she's Dene. She's from Buffalo Narrows, and she's always invited me to come up to Dillon, and that's something I'm gonna do soon, and I'm really excited. One of my best friends from Isla Crosse, Taylor Belanger, and she's always doing hunting and trapping and on the lake, and they're always doing these things that I've really wanted to do. I've gone up to Pachinak, I've gone up to La Ronge. I used to play hockey. I would go up there and play hockey with some of my friends. I used to play on the National Aboriginal Hockey Championship team. So um yeah, Buffalo River Dene Nation, Jocelyn Campbell. That's my
Yeah.
bro. But yeah,
Yeah.
so she's been amazing. I wouldn't have gone through law school without her, because there was only a few of us.
Mm-hmm.
And if we didn't have each other, it just we would have probably walked away
Mm-hmm.
or quit, because it's just even having just one of my Indigenous friends in my class, like my friend Connor, standing ready. So he went through law school, but he's legally blind. He's amazing. He's a story that needs to be shared, and I hope he is one day. And even myself, I have a prosthetic right eye, and me and him together, we used to joke around about how we only have one eye together, and we were at law school sitting in our class and just joking around about things, because we can make things funny. And that's the healing part about being Indigenous too, is we always still have our humor intact, no
Mm-hmm.
matter if somebody's kind of saying something racist in class, and we're like, we'll make a joke out of it. Well, but so yeah, on behalf of like coming to the north, like no, I'm really excited. I plan on traveling up there very soon. I'm gonna go up to Flying Dust as well this week, and I've already, but I know I definitely making those connections is important to me. I really enjoy the traveling and also staying safe, with in regards to COVID and everything, and whatever the community wants and feels is most best. Nowadays some people are doing Zoom again,
Mm-hmm.
and if that's what's best, then that's what. But otherwise, double vax, they can come up, and I look forward to being more a part of the community, rather than sitting behind a desk in a law firm and kind of being told what I can and cannot do.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I like how you just explain with us who you are and what you stand for. And it's going to take me into my next question, because you kind of touched a bit. Right here on Dene Yati, I try to always talk about mental health, and to get that out there. How are you going to advocate for mental health? You talk about the injustices within the system, and within Saskatchewan, the SAS party kind of voted against taking away from mental health whatever funding. How are we going to get that out? The First Nations are federally. How are you going to go to the federal leader and say, yes, we've been saying this for this long, and going forward, how is Aly Bear, if elected third vice chief, are you going to stand for mental health within our First Nations communities?
Yeah, no, mental health is definitely, so part of my campaign and part of my platform is called Healthy Families. And that kind of goes back to our kinship laws. It kind of goes back to our traditional governance systems,
Mm-hmm.
and that once governed us since time immemorial. And we governed ourselves for thousands and thousands of years, and ever since this colonial imposition, things have really, really changed for our nations, and that includes mental health and addiction. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing I started in my own community was a Dakota Winyan Society, and the purpose of it was to revitalize our ceremonies, because a lot of our people aren't having naming ceremonies, they're not having coming of age ceremonies, and a lot of these things can guide us down a really good path. And personally, for myself, I had children, and after I had children, I was sober for 7 years, and I have what kept me strong and sober in those days was ceremony. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that in urban centers, a lot of our people live in urban centers, and you have churches and you have mosques and you have all these other places of worship and prayer, but yet we don't have any ceremonial space. So one thing I really want to do is be able to advocate for, having our own space in urban centers, which is, our own space to pray, our own space that's safe, and, making those connections with elders and youth, but making sure it's done properly and accordingly, right, to the peoples that are on that land. And we always have to make sure we have our own protocols, we have our own laws
Yeah.
that we've followed, and so those are the ones that I really want to be able to revitalize and implement into today and into policy. And that's a lot of the work that I was doing with these law firms. I did a lot of work with Indigenous nations. I worked with Gowling WLG. They have their own Indigenous law group out in Vancouver, and I worked with nations in BC, in the Northwest Territories, and Manitoba, and then I worked with my own nation, Whitecap, with our Dakota Treaty and our self-governance agreement. And then
Hmm.
I worked at Immaculture LLP downtown Saskatoon for a full year, and a lot of the work was, economic development in Indigenous communities. So, and also just like trying to implement our traditional laws into their policies and
Hmm.
updating policy. And I helped draft our constitution for the Whitecap Dakota First Nation. But we wanted to make sure it was traditional to who we are. We wanted to make sure we consult our elders and we talked to them about it. So I went to a lot of elder meetings, sat down with them, and this is how we should be doing, moving forward, is making sure that everyone's involved at the community level,
Hmm.
and speaking to elders, speaking to the youth, getting their ideas, and making that come to life, because the answers is we already have the answers and we don't need that imposed on us. But at the same time, they owe us when it comes to holding Canada accountable and it comes to the resources that are owed to us because of the ongoing disparities of, education, infrastructure, and everything from on and off reserve. Because so I think a lot of that is going to come from, there's a lot more Indigenous rights and justice that is being recognized today.
Hmm.
You have the TRC calls to action that really haven't been implemented yet. You have the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls calls to justice that really haven't been implemented yet. We have done the work, and so we already have the answers. We just need to start implementing, but at the same time, coming up with strategies and how we're going to move forward on that, working with allies and partnerships together between nations.
Hmm.
Eh, So I'm pretty positive about the future, even though we're in some pretty crazy times right now.
Yeah, we're during COVID times, and I like how you talk about healing our people to move forward, and that's something I believe in. And I was talking to Buckley Belanger, who is running in the Desned and Mississippi Churchill riding here this evening, and his daughter, your friend there, Taylor, has started something, working towards a healing lodge. I'm not sure the exact name of it. It's a Cree word, I believe, but you know, how are you going to work with, maybe entities or people like Taylor from the north to make these things happen? It's one thing to try to implement um, these customs and policies of traditional ways. But in the north we have our language, but we don't have a lot of those traditional practices. It's very colonized. How are you going to help put them all together, if elected, to help heal each nation, one step, and all this is not done overnight. It's going to
Mhm.
take a long time. And how is Aly Bear going to make it happen?
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to take working together, coming together. Not one person can do everything, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's just going to be, as long as this is initiated somewhere. Things have to start somewhere. And so if I can be the one to kind of start to bring people together to organize things that are done in a way that's, either, you know, true to their nation, because we're also diverse. So that's why it is kind of hard to do. But we have people who are coming forward like Taylor and starting these healing lodges. And so the question is if they need help to get resources. Like, that's kind of where I want to come in and work with the government and lobby. And I've kind of understand how to navigate these colonial systems as well. Like I've sat at the table with the federal government and I've sat at the table with the provincial government, and I understand, when to speak up and when not to speak up, and also being more assertive, coming up with our own case studies, kind of using their own laws against them at the same time. Those are things that need to be done because sometimes they don't really understand where we're coming from. And so if we're able to explain it in a way through their language and colonial laws, and then we can use that to our advancement. But I kind of want to be that middle person also who helps these people understand this legal jargon that they throw at us all the time. Oh, here, and then sign these papers or these negotiations where they make us dance around the table for years and nothing ever gets done.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be that middle person though, that puts that pressure on them, and puts that pressure on them from a strategic way with, my educational background, and also, just who I am, and how they know me because I've already sat at the table with them before.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's how I can help, is being that middle person to push for more resources and to, ask our people what it is that they need, and get it done.
Get it done and move forward. You seem very driven, like you said. Like it's all about moving forward in politics, and especially your first time running. You want to be that first punch. And it's good to see. Even for yourself, you were a single woman. You said you went through all these. You know some adversities. I'm not sure what, but you made it this far. So good for you. I'm proud of you. I haven't met you, but I'm proud of what you're doing right now.
Thank you.
And you know, the FSIN represents 74 nations. What is that going to be like if elected? How do you work with all nations across the province? It seems like a tough job to do. Are you always on the go? And another thing is, you talk about the Colton Bushi. They FSIN steps in. You know, when something is not going the way it should be for us. Are we going to see more of Aly Bear and not just here and there, like sporadic, if elected?
Yeah, no, for sure. So the way it's set up is that there's a chief and there's 4 vice chiefs,
Mhm.
so that we can try to cover all the ground, and that so everyone gets a different portfolio. So it's just kind of like chief and council of a nation. Everyone
Okay.
has a different portfolio.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of, as third vice chief, the portfolio that's there already is the justice file. So that's my area. That's what I want. I want that file.
Hmm.
The other file I would love to have is lands and resources, because I think that land rights ties in with justice, and land back, and how doing these investigations when it comes to all these unsettled land claims that are ongoing right now. So that's where I want to be. I want to be front and center when it comes to justice, if elected. And I know it's kind of, you do definitely have to spread yourself thin. You are everywhere all the time, but like I'm kind of always been more of a workaholic myself. I think going to law school, the amounts of work that they put on you, they really train you for that, what the profession that you're getting into. Because when you're a lawyer, these guys are there, morning to night. They're working, and for me personally, I'd rather be a workaholic than anything else, because at least I know I'm moving forward in a good direction. And sometimes I feel bad as a mother because my 2 daughters, I would love to be spending more time with them sometimes, but even in law school and stuff, I felt bad. But at the same time, they see me doing positive things. They see me working. They see me speaking publicly, and it's inspiring them as well, because I see how much they love school, and their noses are in books all the time because they've seen my nose in a book all the time. And so I'm trying to do my best every day, which is not, it's not easy, but I think that that's all we can really do is do
Yeah.
our best every day, right? And and try not to be hard on ourselves as well. I think a lot of people are really hard on ourselves, but I feel that this world and the society is already good enough at being hard on us, that we shouldn't do that to ourselves. But that work ethic has really been instilled in me from a young age. And both my parents, my dad being the chief and my mom has her master's in education, and I think that's really important to have those type of role models and mentors. My grandma, my papa, they all were all about working really, really hard. My grandma worked in the Catholic school board system. My papa was a social worker and he worked with STC for a long time. Oliver Cameron, like everyone knows them around here in Saskatoon. And so I think, yeah, I think I've been preparing for this my whole life and I really hope it works out.
Yeah, I really hope it does for you too. And thank you for sharing about, the FSIN. Many of us probably don't know much of what they do. You might hear about them here and there. So I didn't know they each get a portfolio and all this stuff. And, the justice part about it. The other day, I'm at the laundromat. I meet this old cookum there. She's taking care of one of her great grandkids and great great grandkid, I think. You know, Throughout the years, we've been dealing, in residential schools, the effect of colonialism. How does going forward? There's going to be need to be a lot of action. In the past year, as we've seen. You know, what are you going to do next? If elected. I'm sure there's something going on already, but you know, let's get a move on here for some of these people to maybe get some closure and healing. And even people that say the ones that say get over it, or no, you can't, because I just met someone who's 5 years old that it's still affecting here today. And how do you stand for those people, right? Like, what's next?
Yeah, so like in regards to how it's still affecting us too, like the recent uncovering of these unmarked graves has really hit our communities really hard. And even at work, I had somebody, message me and say, "I'm sorry for what happened to your ancestors." I'm like, "Yo, are you kidding me?" And my ancestors, like my grandma's across the street. She lives across the street. This happened to her when she was my kid's age. And so, those types of things need to stop. Those people need to be educated on the reality and the truth. And unfortunately, I think it is taking this uncovering of these mass graves to bring to light the reality of our lives, the reality of our history, the reality of the land that we walk on. People are so proud to be Canadian, and it's like, well, do you actually know your real history? Do you actually know what really happened here and how you benefit from our suffering, from Indigenous peoples? Uh, I think it's like Indigenous land across Canada is like 0.2% of the land is, and then yet it's still held, by the crown for the benefit of Indigenous peoples, and then crown lands being sold, and we're not being consulted, and that's a breach of treaty. That's a breach of fiduciary obligations that the government has to us, and it's just kind of ongoing, and no one's really slowing down to be like, hey, wait, like there's a deeper issue here, and I think I was kind of talking to a friend the other day about how, okay, we have this national holiday, Orange Shirt Day, and now it's going to be a day off for people to go be educated. And that's great. I think that's really good. It's important. But at the same time, it's more of these symbolic gestures, these name changings, and these things that are happening rather than actually getting to the root of the issue, where it's the programming that we need, like you said. So this winter, like, I didn't post about it because sometimes I don't like doing that when it comes to helping our people. But I did what I could to get together with a friend, and we raised as much money as we could, and we gave like $800 to 8 single mother families. And then a lot of them were single cookums, and they were raising their grandkids by themselves. And I did what I could to, it wasn't a lot. It was 8 families. It was only $800, but it was like anything, there's got to be more that we can do. So I mean, a part of that was actually going to be the start of creating these safe spaces for our Indigenous women and their children, because of the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in Two Spirit Plus. And not really having safe spaces. I have friends who tried to run away to women's shelters, and they're not comfortable. They don't want to be there with their kids. We need spaces that people can actually feel safe in. And that's a big reason why we have people that are missing because they don't have spaces that they feel safe in. And I can, even vouch for that in my own life. It's taken a long time too to almost find space that I feel safe in. And just creating that for my children. And then you get very protective of that. And then a lot of people try to judge you for, oh, you don't open up your doors and you don't lend this and you don't do that. Well, it's like, once you create a safe space, you don't want to just let anybody in there, because it's like kind of a messed up world too. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I mean, even for myself, I created this platform, from one video, and sometimes I get people that, that mess me. I want to talk about this, and that lateral violence, that type of attitude, is alive within our nations, and I don't want that brought on, my platform, where it's going after somebody. So those are some good points, and good for you for 8 families, $800 is a lot of money. And for 8 women or 8 cookums, that was I felt for her. I was raised by a single mother, and to just even take the step forward, good for you, good
thank
for
you.
you. And with that, man, I like how you talk about yourself and everything you've done, everything you stand for, and the education um, piece about it is what I find is really, really strong, I think, in this, because you understand both sides, and we need to live in two worlds. That's what we're taught here, as First Nations people. Like myself, I started here in Dene. Now I'm here in English. I live in two worlds. I think in Dene, but I live in two worlds. And to get
Hmm.
that message across to each nation, and that's kind of what I do here in Dene. And I hope you get in. And
Thank you.
if there's anything else you want to add to this, I'll leave it open for you. I'm always open to any kind of a discussion, because I can ask a million questions.
Yeah, no, I think it was a really good conversation. I appreciate being here. And if anybody else, I mean, if anyone who is watching and they have any questions, I mean, I'd be open to
Yeah.
take any questions, or if they want to reach out, if they want to talk about my platform or I do have a website, www.votealybear.com. You can check out my platform there. And yeah, we're just gonna be hitting the fan here soon. Declaration Day for everybody is September 28th, and then elections for us is October 28th.
October 28th.
So
So what's the
yeah.
declarations all about?
Oh, that's just to we got to sign our declaration that we're running.
Okay.
And
So
then so that will like be the day that everybody who is running for that position is definitely running for that position. Right now, some people are they'll be coming out, they're announcing that they're running, but some people are kind of changing which vice chief they're running for or things like that. So once declaration day is in and done, then that'll be the confirmation of who's the candidates are for what position.
okay. And what do you need to run? You just got to be First Nations individual, one of the 74 First Nations. What is the guideline to run for one of these positions?
Yeah, so yeah, you have to be from a nation here in Saskatchewan, and also yeah, you have to be a First Nation. Also, you have to go and get like your criminal record check and all that stuff, and you can't be in like a current ongoing lawsuit, civil, and those types of things apply.
Okay, so it's just like the local First Nations election. You know,
Yeah, yeah, it's
you,
pretty
you
similar to like chief and council.
yeah, you can't
Yeah,
owe the band money or criminal record, all that stuff.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
How many people run, for the third vice chief, or can you just put your name in, or does it have to be specific for that one third vice chief?
Yeah, you have to pick which vice chief you're running for, which if you're running for the chief position, first, second, third, fourth. So you have to be really specific about which declaration form you're filling out. And once you
Okay.
submit it, that's the one you're running for.
Okay. How many people do you speculate now that are going to be running for that position?
I think there's 2, maybe 3, and then, you never know. Could be 4 for all I know. But I
Yeah.
I know there's for sure 2 others that are running for third vice chief.
Hmm. Cool. Good stuff. Do you is there a page? Do you have a page, people, or just your website there? I put on below votealybear.com, or do you have
Yeah.
a Facebook page set up? For
So after Declaration Day, I'm gonna have a specific Facebook page set up. Everything's just kind of been on my personal page right now, which is
Mhm.
Aly Bear on Facebook. And but I am gonna have a Facebook page that's for my candidacy coming as soon as Declaration Day happens.
Okay, and that day is
I think it's September 27th. It's a yeah.
September 27th. So that's just the next few days here. Another week.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot going on every single day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm meeting with a lot of nations and I do enjoy learning about every nation and about, what it is I can do to help and to move forward and yeah, it's been great.
Cool, Nezun. Well, if there's anything else, or if there is any questions out there from the listeners here, throw it in the comments. If not, if there's anything else you want to add, Ali, I'll leave it up to you. And if not, we'll finish her off.
Um I don't think so. No. I
You're
think
all
I'm good.
good.
Yeah.
Cool, Nezun. Okay, well, I want to say thank you and good luck. Hopefully, when you do get in, we see Aly Bear everywhere and standing up for these things you spoke about here this evening. And I hope it's a good campaign. Sometimes we talk about this mental health and lateral violence. And sometimes it might get ugly, like it has here in the federal election within each leaders. And I hope it doesn't go like that for you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, me neither. But
You,
so thank you.
you never
Appreciate it.
know.
It was really great
Masito.
to meet you on here tonight.
Cool. Good luck. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Hey, salot ina kuyit no halyan tira Aly Bear dila Dakota Nation. It's in Dakota Dunes Casino, the older Henila do. And Sasia ganyan tila mental health, injustices within the system, Henila, and Koni sie bazit and another, which is pretty good. Lawyer the helium. So, the Facebook in a share out that the campaign and others, see Koni sie base. So, yeah, the salad in a do election night on maybe 8 also bell to the ocean, like 8:30 thoughts and so then I truth get out there, dog and no hanenesi, and make sure you vote. I know see la hola the I know sensi I know it's in nisi just like do ali no hola kui de sa do no de la October 26th day the henila um I chief see I usually I yeah but they get a la, so it's a little different they FSI. But anyways, Salot in a must-see show na Rosu. Gabi, don't forget Demetra King Bahalyas Tiaza, 8 o'clock p.m. Demetra Research Ganad there see ya tenena that isi I think pretty do ya se Tommy Douglas ulye da inise older nisi NDP I believe and to how their policies affected do in regards to colonization. No koni see residential schools. So, Gabi, 8 o'clock right here, Dene Yati podcast. Must see cho na ho siu selot in a si Willis Javier Hushin in Telas Tuazi. Clearwater River Dene Nation band member at the SLU and join you in the Treaty 4 territory with the RC. Home of the Cree Métis Sioux, Assiniboine, Dakota, Lakota. All beautiful indigenous people. Must see cho. Have a good night.